Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Om. Namaste. So the following verse verse 19. Okay, verse 19. Things to be rejected, known, acquired, and made ineffective are to be understood first of all. Other than the Ātmā to be known, three of them are considered to be mithya appearance. So there are things that need to be rejected. There are things that need to be known. So you reject things which are mithya things, and you need to know things which is just the only reality. It's not the thing, which is Brahman. There are certain things that need to be acquired. So, of course, you need to acquire the teachings, the knowledge and qualifications to begin with. And you have to make ineffective certain negative tendencies or vasanas or defects, that are preventing one from getting the knowledge and grow in this process. So made ineffective. So all those things are to be understood first. So he's presenting on a different structure things that satya and certain things that occur in mithya. And these things have to be seen first of all. So he's pointing to certain qualifications associated with the merits of getting to this scriptural knowledge and the help of a guru. Other than Brahman Ātmā consciousness to be known, three of them are considered to be mere appearance. So there is one thing only that's to be known is Ātmā. And what is the problem with Vedanta? What's the problem with the direct path? The direct path says like, so all there is consciousness and you are consciousness. So forget about spiritual paths, forget about qualifications, forget about the guru, forget about scripture. So you got it. I mean, there is only you consciousness and you are free. Or the only reality. So that is something to be known, but it is not really effective to know things unless you know all those mithya aspects, those factors that are preventing you from know that which needs to be known. So that direct path is a futile attempt to find a shortcut to enlightenment and bypassing everything that needs to be acquired and developed, and the negative aspects of one's personality that has to be neutralized, therefore making them ineffective. So we need to understand satya and mithya. It's useless to understand satya alone, and we need to develop, first of all, the spiritual punya, the karmic merit to come face to face with the scriptures, and then with the help of a guru, honest and competent guru. Let's say what the Swami says here. The previous two verses, the 8, 9, and 90, a summary of the entire Mandukya Upanishad. Each one is complete. Now Gadapada is addressing the Manda and Madhyama students. Manda students are those that do not receive the teaching at all. Madhyama students are those that receive the teaching but do not retain. So practical benefits are missing for these students. And Arjuna appears to complain that the teaching does not stay with him a few times here and there during the Gita. Uttamaha students are those that receive the teachings, retain the teachings, but yet these teachings do not have the power to transform them. Karma Yoga is for Manda Adhikari. Vipassana Yoga is for Madhyama Adhikari. Yani Yoga is for Uttama Adhikari. Okay. Yani Yoga. Gaudapada says that even if you do not understand the teaching, it's not a great problem. This is very dense, profound, involving several aspects here. First, that he talks about a certain kind of student that receive the teaching. So to get to receive the teaching, you need enough spiritual vasana and punya, spiritual punya, let's say, to get face to face with the scripture. So you heard the teaching somewhere, somebody invite you, a book came in your hands. So that is already quite something now. So they receive the teaching but do not retain. It means to say that, okay, it sounds good, but what's the point? I forget it right away. And my life goes on as before. Therefore, they do not get much credit to knowledge, to jnana, Ātmā jnana, So these are the Manda students. Therefore, the benefits, practical benefits, which is the transformation of one's emotional personality, as suggested by Swami Paramarthananda, is definitely missing for those students. For this is for Madhyama. So Manda students are those that do not receive the teaching at all. So it means to say that they get in contact, but they don't take it in. But they got in contact, but they don't receive it. I believe that that's where he's going with this conversation. Maybe wrong. Manda students are those who do not receive the teachings at all. So if the teachings, if they never came in contact with the teacher and the teacher, they are not really students of Vedanta. Here's Manda students of Vedanta. They receive the teachings. They do not get it. They get in contact, but they don't really receive it. One thing is to hear, another thing is to listen, as we say. Madhyama students are those that receive the teachings. They really hear it and they listen and they do some contemplation, but the teachings are easily forgotten and it's not retained. And because it was not retained, it's not there available to protect ones against the fruits of self-ignorance, which is samsara suffering. The practical benefits are missing because these teachings are not there when we most need it. Even Arjuna, the great Arjuna, complained here and there that the teachings were not staying with you, they were not being kept, And then he goes into the third kind of students. Uttamaha students are those that receive and retain the teachings. Okay, so one thing is to receive, another thing is to retain. And even for those who retain the teachings, it's still, there is a further element there, which is more specifically Nididhyasana, which allows the internalization of these retained teachings, because you can retain in your mind, but it did not really grow roots in the three bodies to the extent that it transforms one's life, you understand? But this we may see later on if Swamiji addresses this. And then he comes and explains, Karma Yoga is for the Manda students. So if you if you get in contact with Vedanta teachings, scriptural teachings, and you hear, but you don't understand it, or you don't take it in. So you need to be a Kami Yogi. Kami Yoga is for the Manda students. And then Upasana Yoga is for those that receiving the teaching, but they are not being able to retain it. So then they need to do Upasana, contemplation on the teachings, And this Upasana here, this is a general guideline, no? Guideline, se diz? Yeah, guideline. Because Upasana in general is presented as contemplation on the nature of Saguna Brahman, which is Kami Yoga. Yeah? It's more on the lines of Kami Yoga. So if you receive the teachings, but you do not retain, so it means to say that you have to be a Kami Yogi to begin with. And then you have to forget about all the reasons Brahman and go into Upasana on the nature of Saguna Brahman, okay, which is the first step in the relationship between the sadhaka and the creator. So, and then he says, Kami Yoga is for the first step. Upasana is for those that are having trouble to retain the teaching. And the Yana Yoga is for the Uttamaha students. So those that receive and retain, but yet they are not really getting the full benefits, which is the transformation of one's emotional personality. So this Yana Yoga here, it's referring to Nididhyasana fundamentally, because the full transformation or the main transformation gained by the disciple, the student, is through contemplation on the true nature of Nirguna Ātmā, Nirguna Brahman, as one's very nature, own nature. Gaudapada says that even if you do not understand the teaching, it is not a big problem. Vedanta, Shravana itself is capable of further developing those qualifications and purifying the mind. Vedanta Shravana is already one of the greatest purifier. I tend to say that, and although it does not work for everyone, one has to have enough purification to stick to the Shravana to the extent that that platform of basic qualification is further developed. But if you are not qualified at that level, you don't manage to do Shravana either, So you try to do Shravana, but after some time, you see, there is nothing for me in this one. So you have to have a certain degree already of purification to get into the best, the most rapid process of purification, refinement, which is listening to the teachings that are addressing the fundamental cause of mental impurities, So you are going right to the root cause. But you need to have what? It's the same thing with Upasana. We need to meditate to get improvement, mental improvement, and so on. But you need to have a meditative mind to begin with. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to do Upasana. Neither Upasana, the mind is too disturbed. Kami Yoga, Gaudapada says that even if you do not understand the teaching, it's not a big deal. But Vedanta Shravana is going to purify the mind, provided you can stay with the Shravana, Vedanta Shravana. So you have to have a pull, you have to resonate with those words, to stay with it in spite of one's lack of qualification, so to speak. Yani Yoga serves as a pramana and a purifier. I love this concept. It's often presented by Swamiji. When you talk in terms of Shravana and Manana in Nididhyasana, it's not only the means by which you get moksha, self-knowledge and moksha, you get by what? By knowledge, and knowledge presents in three stages, Shravana and Manana and Nididhyasana. So it's a pramana, it's a means to get moksha, but it's also as a sub-product, it's a means to further purify the body, mind, sense complex. It has double effect. One can continue this Shravana and continue to prepare the mind in one single sadhana, which is Shravana, 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 and the mind gets prepared. The understanding will get better and better, and the person will grow faster and faster in this process of development of the qualifications for Nididhyasana. No? So what is difficult is that a lot of people, they begin the process, the Vedantic process of Shravana, and they get impatient. And then they start feeling like, oh, this is not taking me much anywhere, And then they say, I'm going to slow down on this one, and I'm going to look for some other sadhanas or anything, that can give me satisfaction on a short term, or any other spiritual paths that involves actions, that promise a certain result, some certain punya. So, and then people began getting divided. I am with the Vedanta Shravana, but I am also invested on doing some actions to get some results that gives me a certain limit amount of pacification, mental pacification, generally people want. Gaudapada addressed the preparation of the mind in this verse. Before coming to Vedanta, 4 factors must be noted for checking to see if one is prepared for the Jnana Yoga. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the Jnana Yoga. What are these 4 factors? Heyam. All impurities of the mind, like the weeds in a garden, the mind should be free from those impurities. And what are these impurities? Is excess of Rajaguna and Tamagunas. In other words, it's excess of Ragadvesha and Asuri Sampata. It's negative mental, emotional tendencies. So the mind should improve in those terms. Everybody is moved by desires and aversions, but this is a huge obstacle, such as beginning a vegetable garden and not taking care of the weeds. The weeds are going to consume whatsoever effort you make to grow your vegetables. So you are making effort to grow in purification, but you are not taking care of the weeds. What are the weeds? The weeds is a tough one, it's desires and fear, desires and aversions, And then how are you going to deal with it, So ragas and devotion, they just arise due to self-ignorance, and even ignorance in respect to the true nature, the nature of mithya appearance. What is this nature? It's the things, they appear, they promise certain benefit and happiness and satisfaction. I can get completed by getting things of this world. But then I haven't seen clearly yet that any of all experience, none of them is going to really give me the completion and satisfaction that I'm searching for. So ragas and dveshas feeds from that piece of ignorance. You need to remove this raga dvesha or minimize this raga dvesha, and for that you need what? You need more spiritual knowledge. In order to get spiritual knowledge, you need to, minimize your raga dveshas, and the raga dveshas to be minimized, you need more spiritual wisdom. So it goes together. It's always like that. It's always like that. So where we begin from? We begin from effort. I go for the knowledge, knowing that ragas and diversions are going to be a huge obstacle, but yet I persist. Systematically, I persist. I don't go all over the place looking for instant other solutions or gratifications. Apyam, all those virtues that need to be acquired and nourished, which includes Shravanam, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Krishna also refers to Jnana Yoga itself as Daivi Sampati. So you need to nourish those qualifications, those virtues. Nourishing. So persisting, being dedicated to this process in spite of the difficulties we face, Trust is behind everything, Shraddha. So I came to a point that I know that it's tough, it's difficult. Ragas and dveshas are huge obstacles, but I don't have any other option. I have to face it, I have to face it. So this is Shraddha, trust on the scriptural knowledge, revealed knowledge. And then we have the negative patterns. They are just coming from samskaras, vasanas that develop to become a negative kind of character or tendencies. So these vasanas, they have to be roasted. Roasted seed is that does not sprout, as we know. This is a Vedantic analogy. So those negative tendencies need to be roasted, such as in the case of the seeds, those negative vasanas need to become ineffective. So they are there, but they are no longer driving you around. They are not governing one's willpower, you understand, because they were roasted. And how are you going to roast that? You need fire to roast things, right? So how are you going to roast those negative tendencies? In the fire of knowledge. So how I'm going to do? I roast it first so that I can get more knowledge, or I get more knowledge so that I can roast those negative tendencies, So you have to just come up with the trust in the scriptures and start putting up an effort. What is the effort here? It's both, It's going for more knowledge, knowing that by getting more knowledge, I am indirectly roasting my negative tendency. If I try to roast my negative tendency first before I go for more knowledge, good luck, forget it. And knowledge is the fire that's going to roast the seeds, It's going to roast the vasanas, the negative vasanas. Knowledge is going to create positive vasanas. Everything begins with Shraddha. Raga Dvesha cannot be totally removed, as Krishna notes in Bhagavad Gita. This is very nice. Who can live without desire? And Krishna says, I am the desire, never in violation of my dharma, Raga and Vesha cannot be totally removed, as Krishna notes in the Gita. He says, there are longing, desires and aversions potential in every sense object. So in every object, what he's saying here, in every object that our body, mind, sense complex contacts, there is a certain field, a certain energy of attraction, repulsion, you know. There is always this there, okay? The problem is the intensity of this magnetic field that attracts and repulses us, you know. The bigger this force, you know, the bigger is the mental disturbance in the mind of the individual. So it's a certain attraction, repulsion is going to be there, but it should be rendered ineffective, okay? Why? Because we cannot live without having vasanas. A human being without vasanas is just, I don't know how to put it. We are biological computers programmed by vasanas and moved by our emotions. Emotions dictate by our vasanas. Yeah? So we need to have good vasanas there. Is it a desire for knowledge? It is a desire for knowledge. Desire to know Brahman, God, is a desire, but it's a good desire. And furthermore, as we know, the desire should never be binding to extent that I cannot live without achieving that desire. Although in the spiritual level, we can say that the burning desire to know yourself must be binding to begin with, you know, must become an obsession to begin with. And then comes a point that it has to be turned unbinding. And that's usually when things get clear to the inquirer, you understand? Because the mind under desire is still an element of stress. The last stressor is this desire for self-realization, you know, true self-realization, complete self-realization. So it's still there, you know, somehow it is a stressor, subtle stressor, but it's still there. And then one says, so what? I'm doing this for so long, you know, and I haven't got this final certainty of self-knowledge. I did not get enlightened or whatever one, yeah? Conceptualize this. And then the person says, so what? So what? Yeah? And then that stress goes. Yeah? I don't care. I don't care for moksha. I don't care for self-knowledge. Means to say, I don't care if it comes now or later. I still want it. I still desire. This is the main goal of my life. But I accept the fact that it may not come, and therefore it's not a big deal. Yeah? So this is a preference. And even self-knowledge, desire, muksha, desire for moksha, desire for self-knowledge begins with, it has to be binding to build enough energy to burn all other desires. It needs to be bound to burn all the other desires, because that's how he gets fuel to continue, you know, growing. And then in the very end, this fire of desire for moksha, it starts fading away. Why? Because it has consumed all other desires. This is a beautiful construct to explain this process, you know. Okay. A rose seed cannot germinate, Ragadvasha, and Krishna says, may one not come under the spell of these two, because they are always one's enemies, desire and aversion. Some Ragadvashas are universal and natural, they are unavoidable. They are legitimate Ragadvasha. What is legitimate Ragadvasha? Desires to have and desires to avoid. They are okay if they are legitimate and moderate, meaning to say non-binding. So a mother has a legitimate desire to protect her child. You understand? Is there a problem? No. It's natural, universal. Yeah? But the problem is if the mind is obsessed with wishing to protect her child, and that is a binding desire, that's going to create problem for the child as well, you know? So it's all a question of moderation, legitimacy, but there are some binding, yeah, some of them are unnecessary desires. They are not really legitimate and they are not moderate at all. And then they become binding. They dictate one's life, which have inbuilt hurting capacity is going to hurt you, I, and the others. We have to remove the hurting damage capacity of these binding desires and fears, desires and aversions, likes and dislikes, wants and not wantings. So we know that this is the very source of suffering, desires and aversions. I want what I want, as I want, when I want. Huh? So it's going to hurt you. There's no other way. It's going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt some people around you because, it's a negative energy. Binding raga vicious. We should be prepared to accept all these results according to the law of karma, and then raga dvesha, even though present, will not really hurt us. And then he brings karma yoga. Understand the laws of the Lord being karma, causality, cause and effect, the most fundamental from the Jiva-Ātma's subjective level, because those are laws, they are psychological, social laws, and ethic, moral, that are going to hurt the Jiva-Ātma. And understand the law of karma, understand the connection between certain attitudes and what it brings as the results, it's going to hurt you. If you understand knowledge is the only remedy. If you understand, you begin by accepting that you are getting the hurt and it's coming from you and you alone. Understand the law of karma. Only then you're going to find the willpower to change certain attitudes based on binding raga dveshas. So if you work through the karma yoga, you're going to convert your binding raga dveshas in non-binding ones, so that they will not hurt us. The details are all in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. Taking pleasure and pain, gain and loss, success and failure, favorable and unfavorable, victory and defeat to be the same. You, Arjuna, prepare for the battle and fight. You will gain no sin, but only virtues, accepting any and all possible results. Do your swadharma, observe dharma, live one's life, accepting the results without fighting with Ishwara. That's the way to shrink those binding ragas and division. The importance of Karma Yoga is all about that, because these raga division are the fundamental obstacles for assimilation of knowledge, retention of knowledge. And Karma Yoga is going to explain this Ishwara, Jiva, Ātmā, Jagata system in a way that you understand. So many aspects of these teachings are going to help the student to get the vision that the only power that a human being has is the power to try to conform to these laws and principles of creation, provided one does not want to suffer. If I don't want to suffer, I have to understand, I have to conform to the laws and principles of the Lord. And understanding that I have a certain power to try to understand the Lord. That's why Vedanta is all based on the Lord, and the Lord in its saguna nature. Only then later on you can understand the nirguna nature of the Lord, and then understand the declarations of identity present in the Upanishads in regards to Jiva Ātmā and Paramatma. So you taking the results as prasada, what it does, you understood, first of all, you understood that you have a certain power, to try to comply with these principles and laws, comply with the laws, the law of karma, which is the most fundamental, accepting the results as prasada, so that your mind does not get much hurt, because it's not attached to I want what I want, the way I want, when I want. So you start taking things as they come, always as an opportunity being present for us now to develop more and more mental, emotional balance and strength, which is only possible to the degree that these ragas and dveshas are turning more and more unbinding. They don't have the power to hurt me. Why? Because I understood that I'm not really in control here. I have a certain influence over my thoughts and actions, and I want to use this energy to get myself totally in harmony, in conformity with the laws of the Dharma field. And then in that way, I will shrink the power of hurting me of these vasanas, these ragas and dveshas. Regardless of failure or success, just see things as prasada, an opportunity. There are many other factors besides your effort to win or accomplish anything, including self-knowledge and freedom. That's the way to go in life. That Samatyavan building is called Ragadveshan roasting. Nice. You want to roast, so be a karma yogi and start understand your relationship with the laws and principles of the field, which is an expression of the Lord. Is the easiest way to understand the Lord is by understand its laws, and then understand, get straight with this understanding and this relationship, and then you will start roasting your ignorant Ragadveshas. Samatyavan building through proper attitude, which depends on roasting those seeds of, suffering, is Ishwara Apana Bhavana and Ishwara Prasada Bhavana. So you dedicate your actions, as an opportunity to serve, to give something back to the Lord, takes the results as an opportunity to learn with gratitude for the opportunity. All of that is detailed also in the third chapter of the Gita, and that will take care of biting Ragadveshas. And roasted Ragadvesha will create a preoccupied and shallow mind. That kind of mind will not be able to do Shravana. You see the importance of Karma Yoga. A mind that is under the tyranny of binding ragas and dveshas, present here as unroasted raga dvesha, with a huge potential to hurt you and others, is going to create what? A mind that is always concerned and preoccupied with what's coming, with my next parabada, what's coming in the pipeline, as James used to say. So we'll create this kind of preoccupied mind and shallow, superficial mind. Why superficial? Because it's only concerned of getting what it wants and avoid what it does not want. This is a very shallow philosophy of life, isn't it? You know, you have to go deeper than that and understand Dharma, understand the Lord, and make an effort for all of that. If your mind is not deep and it's not refined and pure, and it needs to be a relaxed mind, an unpreoccupied mind. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to properly do the Shravana. Only a non-preoccupied, profound, deep mind can listen attentively for a length of time. Attentively, a clear, pure mind can really listen, you know, and more you listen, more the mind develops the capacity to listen, you know. More the mind becomes contemplative by the doing the Shravana presented in our teachings. And for how long? In the beginning, it's just a few moments, and then I start, fading away. But more I do it, more I develop that quality of mind of focus or one pointedness, which is fundamental to develop this Vedantic vision / understanding of one's true nature. If my mind is deep, I receive the message on a deeper level, and the deeper, I better retain it in the core of my being. In Jnana, Brahman, the goal must be kept in mind. So I know what I need to know. I need to know the nature of Brahman and that I am Brahman. And all the other factors affect us in regards to elements of mithya that cannot be neglected, Otherwise, I go to these teachers in the direct path that bypass all the mithya factors that are fundamental base, fundamental foundation, for the understanding of that which must be known before we leave this body. So Gaudapada Acharya presented the teaching very clearly. Swami is doing another recap here, beginning the next archive or file. He said that this teaching, I am Brahman, Satya, and Jiva, Jagat is Mithya, and my nature and the nature of Satya and the nature Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. So, and I can understand the declarations of identity between Jivatma and Paramatma. Brahmatma is Satya, Jagan is Mithya, and I am made up of both. I have an element of Mithya, which is the substantial nature of the body-mind sense complex. But my true nature is that which supports, and allows this body-mind sense complex to experience itself. So I have both elements. I have my Satya nature, my Mithya nature. Therefore, I understood Satya, I understood Mithya. I know that I experience a mixture of both. I know that Satya is not an object of experience, but I can experience Satya as Satya. And I experience through a body-mind sense complex, which is my inferior nature, as my body-mind Mithya nature, But I understand the statements of identity because the statements of identity are direct not to my body-mind, but to my very nature as Brahman, Satya, Turiya, consciousness. Are you guys following? So this teaching is subtle, and most people are going to find it difficult. Satya Mithya, it's very subtle because Mithya exists within Satya. And Satya is so subtle, the most subtle of the subtle, that you try, okay, and then all I have to do is separate Satya from Mithya. How am I going to do that? If the more subtle is permeating and pervading, is supporting Mithya, so how am I going to separate that? It's the most invisible principle is Satya. consciousness. It's very subtle. Therefore, it's difficult to grasp because the mind needs to be subtle enough. Therefore, some people may even grasp it for a moment, but they just see those flash of understanding that in the old days, I think we used to call satoris, that you, and then fades right away. Some people may grasp it and retain it. Some people may grasp it and retain it, but do not digest it enough to transform one's emotional personality. The teaching becomes retained, but on the intellectual level, not on the emotional level. If this is happening to you, what is the cause for that? Not only do we have to know the cause, but we have to rectify also the situation. Therefore, Gaudapada said that every spiritual seeker should note these 4 factors that we have seen today in our class. Right from the beginning, 1 factor is the final goal. When we come to Vedanta, the first thing that we say, we are told that what? You are Brahman, you are consciousness of limitless nature. And then we say, oh, this is a wonderful compliment. I always felt that there was something great about myself. And then we like, wow, I like this Vedanta thing, So it's the first thing we say, oh, you're a Brahman, blah, blah, blah. And then people say, okay, great, I got it. Let's take my certificate and get out of here, enjoy my life in samsara. And then Vedanta say, but you're not going to get any benefit from this knowledge unless you are really profoundly through qualified. And then you have to deal with development of this qualification, which goes together with canceling those impurities and bad attitudes that the mind has developed along this life and other births as well. Therefore, Gaudapada said that every spiritual seeker should note 4 factors from the beginning. The first thing is you are Brahman, you are free. Moksha is not something that you can gain because it's your very nature. It's just something that you need to understand. And this understanding the final goal of every spiritual mature seeker. Okay, now you know what's to be known. You are Brahman is a fact. But unfortunately, you are not going to take it as a fact. Why? A deeply rooted ignorance, which is going to obstruct the acceptance of something that is a fact to some few, but it is a philosophy or myth for most people in the spiritual world. Brahman Yanam requires shastric inquiry because Shastra alone is the pramana. So in order to get the knowledge, I am Brahman, I need to get in contact with the scriptural knowledge of the Upanishads, with the help of a guru, of course. Because these scriptures is the only pramana. What it means, there is no other means to know the self but through the scriptures. But Ramana Maharaj, he got the knowledge and he never studied the script. In this birth, he did not study the scripture, but he came already the scriptures in his subconscious mind. He was already well equipped without having to go, even though later on he started studying the scriptures, and later on he even wrote some teachings that was integrated in the body of Vedantic knowledge. You need to have a means of knowledge to get that knowledge. And the means of knowledge to become a doctor. Doctor is a medical school. You find in the medical school, and the means of knowledge to know your nature as Brahman, you find in the revealed scriptures out of great compassion, Ishwara or Brahman. through Ishvara, reveals the scriptures to all spiritual seekers. And this knowledge is the superior, ultimate thing to be known. This clarity of purpose must be remembered all time. The clarity of intention, clarity of purpose. I'm here for this knowledge. Therefore, let's concentrate all our energies and be free. Must be remembered, asserted again and again. This is what is to be known. Yes. Gaudapada refers to this as Jnana, the thing to be known. This knowledge has to take place in the mind only. Any and all knowledge takes place in the mind or in the intellect, howsoever we prefer. The knowledge does not take place in the self. The self is the substratum. The self is a distant. The self is consciousness. Consciousness is not a knowing entity. The body-mind sense complex is superimposed on consciousness, and then we have a jiva Ātmā, human jiva. Yeah? And the human jiva has an intelligent intellect, hopefully, and knowledge takes place only in that instrument of knowledge called the intellect or the mind. Ātmā is not the locus for getting knowledge. Since knowledge has to take place in the intellect alone, the intellect should be fit enough to receive these teachings, retain, assimilate, and digest the knowledge. You see the importance of the mind or the intellect? Is our instrument, primary instrument. We have several instruments. The five sense is 5 channels by which we get inputs. But the mind is our primary, the most fundamental instrument of experience, knowledge. And most people do not take care of that instrument. They take care of what? The food body, the physical body. They do facelifts and they do this, they all the time staring at the mirror and doing other things to keep the physical body fit. The mind is everything. The mind should be fit, qualified to assimilate this knowledge. Whatever refinement of the mind is needed should be taken care of. When? Yesterday. Beginning yesterday. Beginning now, meaning to say. It's similar to a preparation of the land as we're going to grow a vegetable garden. Brahmayana, Ātmā is a plant that gives the sense of moksha, freedom, and independence from the world of experience. This Brahmayana is a plant that requires a proper prepared land. A land goes to the mind, the intellect. The intellect has to be prepared for that. Karma Yoga is the most important means by which we get this prepared land, this prepared soil. This preparation requires more attention than the very Vedantic final stud itself. I mean, it's much more work to go through the development of all qualifications, the whole prep work, in nearly everything. So just try, you invite a friend or two to your house, you prepare a nice lunch, and then prepping everything, doing shopping the vegetables, washing things, cooking things, and then you sit at the table, and half an hour, 1 hour, it's all over. And the prep work was much more intense and long. So the prep work it requires more energy and attention, more than the final stud, the final nididhyasana. So three factors, which are Mithya factors, and the other factor is Satya factor. You should know you are Satya, you are Brahman. These three other factors, they belong to Mithya. They regard to mental preparation, are referred to as Hayam, Apyam, and Pakyam. Don't expect me to pronounce it correctly. All this prep work is not conducive to self-knowledge, and moksha is conducive to mental readiness. On the Bhagavad Gita, they are referred as Asaru Sampati. Apyan is all the virtues that are favorable for receiving the knowledge enumerated in Daivi Sampati by Krishna. And then he reminds us here, he mentions again, Pakyam, Raga, Dvesha cannot be totally avoided, but they have to be taken care so that the toxin contained in them is neutralized. We need to detox. We cannot live without Raga, Dvesha, but we need to detox. The toxin that gives us trouble and suffering needs to be neutralized. You cannot avoid Raga, Dvesha, but you need to detox the disturbing tendencies or power of those ragas and dveshas. They will never allow the mind to remain calm and focused, and still worse, will keep the mind always in the future, preoccupied. Future and past, just going through the files of the past and then anticipating a certain future. That's like most samsari lives. The mind should be relaxed, deep, and receptive, and have a long attention span. Long attention span is difficult as well. You need sattva guna to hold the attention, But then sattva guna is short. There is much demand for rajas during my day-to-day life style, and then I have some sattva, but it fades quickly. Raja takes place, and then rajas start warning out my mind when I see rajas just leaves from the back door, and I get tamoguna coming in, and I'm starting collapsing during the class or something like that, being unable to meditate or doing my upasana. Raga Dvesha will work, unroasted Raga Dvesha will work to prevent the mind from achieving the proper state on which knowledge fructifies. So Raga Dvesha should be roasted as he presents. What is a roasted Raga Dvesha? They should be turned into preference. Any number of preference is okay. One has to convert Raga Dvesha into non-binding preference. All these three preparation in Vedanta. Preparation and Vedanta Shravana is the primary sadhana. So he's saying that we need to prepare, and the preparation comes through what? Shravana, listening to the teachings of Vedanta. They don't even consider much the Kama Yoga here in the Upasana. But because it was already pointed out that Shravana is the greatest prepper, the purifier. All these three are preparations, and Vedanta Shravana is the primary sadhana to gain this preparation. All the four factors that Dr. Gaudapadacharya mentions here should go together. And even if any one of them is missing, the knowledge will not fructify as wished. If spending a long time in Vedanta does not produce the desired result, I want to enjoy the fruits of self-knowledge. It requires assimilation, digestion, internalization. If spending a long time is not giving the results, one of these factors, I say, okay, and then I walk away from Vedanta, and people say, if after some time, okay, and then I'm going to become a samsari again and go back to the world of sensory pleasures, sensory experience. If spending a long time in Vedanta does not produce the desired result of assimilation, don't go back to become a samsari, because even if you try, you won't manage it, because by now you know better. If Vedanta time you spend did not produce, one of these factors is missing, and so a seeker should be constantly vigilant regarding these 4 factors. Keep them in mind. Of these 4 factors, 3 belong to Mithya, empirical reality, and only one refers to the absolute reality, which is I, Satchitananda Brahman. One is said to be Jnayam, and the other 3 aspects are called Yayam, Apyam, and Pakyam. They belong to the empirical Mithya reality, which needs to be taken care of. The thing to be known as Brahman, Turiya, is the absolute reality. So get this knowledge and transcend all of these things. I don't know what he means by this. The world does not have existence and origination, but it has an appearance. This is Mithya. So you want to transcend Mithya by understanding your nature in Satya, although Mithya is not going to disappear, but it's not going to have the effect of causing you suffering. With this, Gaudapada has completed the topic of sadhana, with these 3 aspects to be observed. Gaudapada does not elaborate much on those sadhanas, because it was already elaborated in the Gita. He concludes the entire Mandukya Karika by giving the essence of the teaching in the following verse. Now he's going to talk a little bit about the teachings, now doing a closing in the next 10 verse. He highlights 2 points, both are very important. The first point is that every human being seeks what every human being fundamentally seeks is already one's very nature. Unfortunately, we are missing on our nature, and we are searching for our moksha nature in the world of objects. It's like losing your ring from one's finger and searching it in place where you did not lose it. Our own nature is peace, security, and happiness, but everyone is seeking for these things on an object of experience somewhere in this dimension or any other dimension. Our very nature is the only source of peace, satisfaction, security, happiness, in other words. But everyone is trying to find it by a certain set of experiences, not understanding that the nature of experience is impermanence. It's beginning, middle, and end. It's so beautiful. Let me finish this paragraph here. The second message is that Dvaitam is samsara. Advaita alone is moksha. What is Dvaitam? Dvaitam is experience. Oh, I love life, I love experience. Know that this is Dvaitam. And what makes Dvaita to be samsara is the attribution of reality to Dvaita. Dvaita is there and it will remain there, but if you believe that it's real, and then you are living in Dvaitam, as a Dvaitam, suffering, the sickness of samsara. Dvaitam is samsara. If you believe that Dvaitam is duality, is reality, Advaitam is the only way to understand your true nature as the only reality. All there is consciousness. It's Brahman, Satchitananda Brahman. As long as a person is obsessed with experience, Dvaitam, and I want to experience what I like, as long as a person is not a kami yoga and is still, not taking things as prasad because it's obsessed with duality and wanting to experience exactly what it wants, take it as a fact, the person will continue to suffer the illness of samsara. Experiencing Dvaitam is not samsara, but obsession, which is a belief that duality is reality. It is any realm of dualistic experience. I may find another realm in which duality is reality. No, it's all punya papa being experienced on a more or less denser realm, of energy. Duality, if samsara is an obsession with duality, think it is a fact, the person will suffer greatly as a samsara. One should know that samsara is this mundane, is samsara, this physical material universe, is a sort of samsara, but there are subtle levels, realms of samsara. Samsara is just duality. Duality is to believe that any kind of object of experience, if there is experiencer experience and object experience, this is duality, is Dvaitam. Dvaitam is a fact. If you believe it's a fact, it's because you got to a wrong conclusion, and you have guided your conclusions through sensory experience. We need not to change the experience. The experience, sensory experience will be there, but the conclusion needs to be understood, and it's only possible in the light of the teachings of the Upanishads. This process of education in the light of the Upanishads is what's going to prove us that the earth goes around the sun and not otherwise, meaning to say, in analogy. More importantly, knowledge is the key here. More important, even after changing the conclusion, my mistaken conclusions were corrected by knowledge, spiritual knowledge. I am no longer samsari, I am consciousness. Even after changing my conclusion, know that the duality, the Dvaita, you and the world you experience will remain right there before you. Knowledge does not bring about a change in the mithya appearance realm of experience, because our organs are designed for being an experiencer of objects of experience. Advaitam is only possible through the knowledge, but on the empirical experiential level, Advaita will persist. What we have to change is not the experience, because that belongs to Ishvara, and he is going to observe each one of us karmas, of our karmas, to present to us our prarabdhas. Knowing this helps a lot to take it as a prasada. What we have to change is not, what I experience, but the conclusion that what I'm experiencing is the ultimate reality, and I want to have its reality, not ultimate. Ultimate is one without a separate. Is a reality, and I want a better reality, and then reality is plurality, and then a person is lost like a blind person, in a dark room looking for a black cat which is outside playing in the garden. The conclusion is that there is no Advaitam, and there is only Advaitam. There is only one truth, and this truth is I, myself, as Satchitananda Brahman. I alone, I am appearing. I'm allowing this appearance of plurality in nature, such as the cosmos. We see myself as is stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, I am the subject, I am the object, and I am the knower, the instrument of knowledge. I, the non-dual, appear as this trinity, knower, known, and objects of knowledge. Dvaitam is samsara, and advaitam is moksha, the understanding of the two nature reality as one and the same, one without a second, Satchitananda Brahma. Okay, it takes us to the verse 91 that we do tomorrow. Tomorrow is okay for everyone? Okay, doke. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Same Mitya channel with Mandukya Karika.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.